How's it, and welcome to a review of the Ford EcoSport. Before we get too far into this review, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just click that subscribe button down below. Trying to build the channel, trying to get more subs, really appreciate it. So I want to show you the inside of the EcoSport. I'm going to do that in like a POV type style. A couple of things that I find really interesting here. So we'll start on the passenger side. There's a cubby hole over here, which is not terribly big. It does have a separate shelf entirely for the service book, which is quite useful. There's a grab handle here, but it's not like really a grab handle. It's more just like a little slot that is quite useful to slot your phone in. One of the most interesting parts of this car is this whole screen arrangement here. That is a very small screen. It's only 4.3 inches. A couple of buttons on that side and on that side, and those buttons are almost as big as the entire screen is there. A couple of settings there, OK button to kind of select through the menus, volume button over there. Aircon arrangement is okay, so there's no auto function for the aircon, which is not the end of the world. But if you turn this all the way down, it obviously is on its coldest setting. If you then click it once more, it goes to max, and then you can kind of rotate up off max, which is quite a cool way of kind of just one click, go max. That's quite sweet. The usual settings, the fan layout, etc. There are two regular USB ports over there. There's a 12-volt port over there, and obviously, as I mentioned, it's a 6-speed gearbox. What is interesting about the gearbox, you go park, reverse, neutral, drive, and L. So there's no like sport function on this gearbox. In the center console, there is enough space for a sort of large coffee cup that fits in there. There are space for two of them. There's this little container in the center, that's a GoPro battery for reference. And then in the center here, there is actually a fairly large cup holder, which actually holds a large bottle of water quite comfortably. In the center of the dash here, there is another storage compartment. Although this is hard plastic, that's hard plastic. Can't imagine anything would actually stay in place if you put it there. So the minute the car, that's gonna. The steering wheel is multifunctional, so on this side you can kind of select through the menus, and on the right hand side you get to do some of the media stuff and phone stuff. As I mentioned earlier, the dash here is very non-digital. So if you have a look here, you'll see there's no separation between the speedometer and the rest of the dash. It's just kind of one smooth black layout, and then these things are lit inside the black. So it's quite an elegant finish actually. Probably not very expensive to make, but it's got like a really cool finish. That little screen has a bunch of options as you kind of rotate through it, the usual trip computer type stuff. So legroom in the back of the EcoSport is not great. I mean, it's there, but I'm like right up against this. There is a bit of headroom, so it just gives you that bigger sort of body size. And that brings us around to the back of the EcoSport. So first of all, there's like this big ass tire on the back, and it's just like, it's got a steely, it's basically a mag. You'll see the rest of the cars also steelies and mags. But the EcoSport kind of has Jimny vibes to it, the way the boot works. There's a release here, you just press, and the boot pops right open. The problem with this boot arrangement is that in order to open the boot fully, you have to come out like a good 1.5 meters from the car. So if you've reversed into a parking spot, there's another car's bumper over here, you can't actually get this open properly. Like another car would open upwards quickly, and this kind of slides out all the way there. And that could be a bit of a problem when you're doing your shopping. There is a parcel shelf over here, but it doesn't have the strings attached because there's obviously no boot that lifts up. Instead, it's got like a weird mechanism that catches over here to hold that up should you need it, and then of course it comes out entirely as well, if you can make that all happen. So parcel shelf is there, got a slightly different mechanism. It's also got like the second layer over here, so you put this plank in and it kind of has the boot level with the loading surface. If you take it out and leave it in the garage, then you buy a little bit of extra space, and the jack and everything's over there. Of course, there is no spare wheel in the car because the spare wheel's on the car. There are also two settings for this. There's a setting higher up that kind of slants this down slightly. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but the option is there. And then there's the regular setting, which makes it level like that. So the exterior styling of the car is not too bad. It's got black plastic mirrors. It's got this black plastic bit here that kind of wraps all the way around. So the bumpers have it in the front, and it wraps around the bumper at the back. As I mentioned, it's basically got steelies with hubs on it. The wheels are 16 inches, which are not bad, so the tires are not going to bankrupt you. It's got a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine. It produces 91 kilowatts. So the front of the car is not bad either. The grille has this sort of honeycomb effect, which is the same on the Rangers. So they're kind of bringing that design language all the way through to the smaller vehicles like the EcoSport. It looks okay from the front. It's like, this is a cool looking little car. My only gripe with this car would be that it doesn't have enough tech in it. But at 300,000 Rand, like, it's an absolute bargain. This EcoSport, this is the EcoSport 1.5 Automatic Ambiente, which is a fancy way of saying it's got a 3-pot 1.5 litre engine. It produces 92 kilowatts and 150 Newton meters of torque. The auto box is okay, it's a CVT box. I still have this box over a manual, so there's that. It might just be my personal driving style, but it leans a little bit towards the heavy side of fuel consumption. I've been averaging 8.7, which is a bit more than I'd want from a small vehicle like this. And it's not bad to drive. If you want to go fast and you want to go up mountains like I am, then this is probably not the car of choice. But driving it around town, like just driving in suburbia, going to the shops, like the Ford EcoSport handles that absolutely superbly. There is a bit of road noise that comes in here, but to be fair, this car costs a smidgen over 300,000 Rand. So basically Ford have said, we will make you a small SUV for the price of a Polo, which is a stonkingly good offer.